Okay, so here's your actual box. So you see ZeroPlus. Now I've forgotten the model number. I don't have it on hand. Hopefully it's one here. There we go. So it's the LAP-F1 404M. So it has a USB 3 interface, but it does work on USB 2 apparently. So this is a bit of a beast, and I'm very lucky to be actually get the opportunity to do this one. You know, it's an expensive piece of gear. I believe it's an expensive piece of gear from what Jank Gansel was saying, but anyway, obviously I'll get this as a free sample, so it didn't cost me anything. So you also got a installation software user guide. Over here. Let me have the actual unit here. So there's the in connections. I have to figure all this out. So it's got the USB main and USB 3 connection here. Trigger out, DC, clock in, stack, which I can't remember what that was for, clock out, and yeah, I think it's something else. And that's all the connections to the probes. So as you can see, this is a 32 port unit, broke up into 4 blocks of 16. That's right. No, it's not 32, is it? It's 64. Now, I believe it's the same unit, the same housing used for all the units, but the actual number available is changed depending on which model it is. I believe that's the case. So although it's got 64 ports, I don't think all 64 enabled. I think it's a setup of 40 ports. This one, something like that. I could be wrong. I have to look into that. Let's put this down somewhere. It's not going to fall off. That'd be really bad. What's in here? Power supply. Probe cables. So these are colour coded. I think the colour coding is purely for reference. It doesn't actually have any meaning as such. It's just for reference, so you can see what's going on a bit easier. So these are USB 3 connections, and there's a USB 3 cable there as well, and a BNC cable for the trigger out. I'll be doing a proper review on this. This is just a mailbag unboxing thing to show you what's coming up, because I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people which are interested in this. Right, I'm trying to get the last box out. Come on. I think that's right at the bottom, is it? Yes, it is. So I might just open it like this then. So what's in here? Hook probes, whole bunch of those for the various test points and connections. Power cable, not correct one for my country, but that doesn't matter. It's just a standard IEC cable. I've got dozens of those. Not an issue. I probably should have specified actually. Would have set me the right one. Here are the actual probes themselves, the actual connectors. These are the input devices. So there's 5 there. So 5 in that one. I think there's different versions. So it's a P200. They've got different specs. I can't remember what the differences were now. I'm going to have to look that up when I do the final review. So P120, P200, and there's sorry, here we go. 200 megahertz, 120 megahertz. That's EMC 5.1 or EMMC. So that's EMC probes. CMOS bus one, so 1.2, 1.5, 1.8 volts. There's another pack of those, same ones. How many's in there? 10? 2, 4, 6, 8. There's 8 in there, so there's 16 there. And another pack there of 4 more, so there's 20 there. So that's pretty cool. So ABC, they're actually labelled bags. And there's a little warranty thing there, looks of it. Alright, so I'm playing around now with the software for the logic analyzer, and initially I had problems getting it installed. My antivirus software really didn't like it, and it actually refused the program to run, so I had to disable that and download the latest version of the program as well, so it's all up to date. And yeah, I managed to get going that way, and so I managed to get the thing to run. Now I've got it configured to do a UART on A0. And as far as buses go, it's got loads of buses, so I'll scroll right down. So this has got 40 buses on this particular unit, so it goes right down to C7, and I've only got one connected right now, and you can see here 40 channels just there, and it's got 4 megabit. Now one thing I've noticed on this is if you change channel configurations, maybe not that one, but this thing here at some point will jump around. So it's got a few little software glitches going on here. This keeps reverting back to 200 megahertz, which is a pain when you're trying to sample something which is quite slow, because then you actually run out of sample time, and you lose half the data and that kind of thing, because it expects it to be much more rapid than it actually is. So I'm going to trigger the computer to send the UART to data, and we'll try and capture it. So this has got auto capture, so you just get that going, and it watches for data coming through. Right, so I sent data, and there we go. So it's received data. So let's zoom out quite a lot and drag this around a bit. Still not quite zoomed out enough, a bit more. Right, so you can see it's got a hexadecimal data here. That's what I've currently got it set to. I can change that, and I come over here. So you've got binary, so if you want to see binary data instead, you know, which is fine. And you know, standard sort of stuff, decimal values, so you can actually see where the characters actually are in that way. Sign decimal, I'm quite sure what this is there. Oh, plus and minus, of course, yes. And ASCII. And here we go. So I'm going to zoom out a bit here. You can see what I've sent. So there you go. Set my name there. So you know, it's all working fine. So the software is a little bit glitchy. So over here, there you go. Look, let's jump back to 200 megahertz again. See? So I don't want it to sample at 200 megahertz. This lets you set the memory depth for how long it will record for. This has got a 4 megabyte limit right now. I think that may be just due to how much RAM is installed in the unit, because I believe it's got a RAM card inside there, and that might be upgradable. I believe the highest it can go to is 8 megabytes, sorry, and I believe it's got a 4 megabyte card in here, because it's called a LAP-F1 404, which I think 4 was for 4 megabyte. I keep saying megabit because I've got data. Anyway, so yeah, it's got a few little software glitches in here like that. It's a little bit annoying, and I did actually have this thing crash me at one point, and I was trying to do a capture. I didn't have the data correct, and it wasn't actually triggering, and it kind of got stuck. It wouldn't really trigger. I couldn't cancel it. It just hung up, sitting there waiting for a trigger to happen. But at the time I didn't have this trigger set. So here you can set the trigger types. So I've just got it on rising edge right now, which seems to work for this. But you can set other systems, if I can remember where it is. I think it's in here. So you can see sample depth is always defaulting higher. And this is what I've got currently set triggering. Waveform triggers here, you've got different options here as well. So it goes through those. And buses, shows what bus is using, which one. So that's all fine. But yeah, I did see a video from Dave, EV blog, and he actually reviewed the next model up from this one. He's got the 64 channel version that he had. And he had issues with the software as well, being a bit glitchy and doing weird things. So even though that was 6 months ago, I believe, when he actually did that video, and there's been some software updates since then. I think it's about 3 different versions of software since then. Some of these glitches are still present. So they do need to work on the software side of things. I think it's just it needs some work. It's just got glitches in there and things which just don't quite behave. It's not bad, I have to say. You know, what if you've got a dial and a pull down menu, right? Why both? And dials are a case if you're using a scroll wheel, but why do you need both? Have one or the other. Take away one of these. I'd say take away the dial, because that takes up a lot of screen space, whereas this is nice and easy and quick, and you can see exactly what it says and things like that. Alright. Triggering position. I haven't really played with that yet, but I think it's something to do with where it sits in this menu here, in this pane just here. Sample depth, yes, okay. I think I would have preferred to actually have another pull down menu instead of this graphic. The zoom, I'm not a fan of it. It's too fine. You can stick the mouse over it and use the scroll wheel, which is faster. But doing the steps either here or here, I mean, you've got duplication here as well. Mind you, can turn these things on and off. You can actually configure this menu bar here to have what you want on it, which I think is in here. Yes, is a thing in here somewhere. I forgot what it is. I've lost it. But there's a way of actually, you can change what it will see in this menu bar here, so you can actually set up the way you want it. You can put everything in there, which then has a little scroll thing at each end, which is a pain, which obviously defeats the purpose of having it, I suppose. But you can put what you want in there, which is nice. That's a nice feature. Now this unit, as Dave said, is actually worth quite a bit of money. It's in the thousands of dollars. Now I actually saw this. I think I would have seen Dave's video originally, and Jack Gensel also reviewed it, which is the one I actually saw more recently. And I believe he actually gave his one away. He reviewed it and then gave it away, I believe. So when I actually saw these videos, I thought, I might get one of these and have a play around myself and just see what I think of them. And so I actually approached the company, I approached ZeroPlus, and said, hey, I'd like to have a look at one of your logic analyzers, and this is the one they offered me. So that was very generous of them, certainly. So thanks a lot to ZeroPlus for sending that through to me. As I said on the intro, hopefully I said it, this has been sent to me at no charge, no cost. It hasn't. There's no, it's purpose of review. I haven't paid for this item, so I've been paid by receiving the item to keep. So, which is brilliant for me, because I've now got a high-end logic analyzer thing. So the actual analyzer itself is really nice. It's got really nice build quality, and it's as you would have seen in Dave's video if you've seen it. It is nicely put together. But the software, although it looks okay, it's got issues, but they haven't been bad issues. I don't think it's just little things, but trigger levels, and we can set all this sort of stuff up. So this is the probe I'm using right now. It's P120LV. I also got the 200 with it as well, so I'm a bit interested about why that doesn't actually appear in his menus. Maybe it's detecting when it's plugged in. Maybe that's something I should try doing actually, is plug it in, see if it detects it. And you also set these levels here as like presets. But you can also set any level you want. So you set other, you can set it wherever you want, alright, for the actual trigger levels. So this is just a nice, well, that's good enough anyway for most stuff. So it's okay. I can't complain. And the fact it has all these different protocols on it, so you can change the properties here, which channel you want to do the decoding on, that sort of stuff. You can change them there, and there is a way of, what am I looking for? I've lost it. Where is it? I'm trying to find the thing now. So I've only played around with this a little bit so far. I'm still very, very new to it. Protocols. So you can do this sort of thing too. So you can tell it whether you want the data to be, what data type is going to be for triggering. So you can trigger on a certain type of data. Say if you wanted to trigger on a certain character, like the T, then you could put in hexadecimal value for that character, and it'll trigger from on T's. So that's nice features for that kind of thing. So did I leave it on? I think I did. That's okay. It's fine. Just cancel. So it's got lots of high-end features in here. So you've got different trigger types. I think I showed you this page already, didn't I? Get back out of there. So if I were to do a new protocol decoder, these are the protocols it can do. There's loads and loads of them. It is just crammed full of protocols to decode. It is just incredible. Now, this is the first time I've done a screen capture on this PC, so I'm hoping this has come out okay. This is on the laptop, and I've never done it before on here. But you know, it gives you an idea of how many there are. There's just loads and loads of them. Alright, so if you want to check one out, you just click on that, it gives you a description of how it works. You know, so also handy. Okay, so I'm waffling a little bit here, but so I haven't played around with this a lot yet. Trigger options, so you can set delayed triggers and stuff like that. And it's got some acquisition stuff where you can actually interface with a scope. Where is that? I've got to try and find it again. Is it in a bus? No. Actually specified scopes. Where was that? It might have just been in the standard settings. Hold on, let's open here. Hold on, I must be missing something here. So this is where you can set what options you have in the toolbar here, what things are in there. Colour scene, so you can adjust all that stuff you want. Waveforms. Now, this is something which allows you to hook up to a scope using USB. Had a USB signal, but now I seem to have lost that. So it's got so much stuff in here. Is it in here? No. I think it was one of the options. Trigger DSO connection. Here we go, DSO connection. So you can actually do stuff off this, which is also interesting. I haven't played around with this yet. I don't have a clue how to use this, but you can use a DSO with a USB connection. It does actually mention. Where is it? It's in here somewhere. I can't find it now. But there's a thing here for DSO. You can actually hook your scope. It actually lists the scopes. Where is it? It's in here. Trying to find a way around this thing. There's lots of like different ways to get into the same thing, which is a bit confusing. Where is it? Not there. Oh, I don't know, I've lost it now. It's gone. This is that same options menu. Is it in here? Oh, I missed it. Maybe I've overlooked it. So you can show frequency and time, things like that as well in the trace values. So let's do time. Where is that? I've lost it. Did have a list of scopes. Oh, this is going to be driving you nuts probably. Alright, let's just do that. I might come back to it if I can find it. So this is showing all the timings anyway. So there you go, you can zoom in and you can see the times between the pulses of the actual data signal. So some people find it handy, I'm sure, if you're analysing what's going on. So yeah, it works alright, but I am still getting to grips with this myself yet. It's got a lot of functions in here, and there's a thing here for using a scope. I just want to find that before I stop this bit of recording. I'll do some more stuff on it later on. Where is it? I have lost it. It's not that. Is this DSO connection thing. DSO settings. That's what I'm looking for. Here we go. Right. Dear, sorry about that. I might edit that out. Right. So you can see the scope options here. So through USB. Alright. So you can do stuff with this. Apparently. Different brands of scope. I'm guessing this is grayed out until you actually have a detected scope or something there. So it's got different settings for each one, so it must be relevant. How to use this? Oh, I've got absolutely no idea. I have a Siglent scope, so I don't actually have any of these which will be functional because I've got a old Tektronix and a Siglent. None of these other ones. I have approached Rohde actually about equipment and see if they're interested, but they haven't got back to me yet. So it's probably no. So you can get to the scope, and then obviously gives you these options. You can do triggering off the scope, fed through the USB. Set the colours up for those, and you can set the voltage levels and stuff for each channel. Tunes up to 4 channels, obviously. As far as these features go, I'm not sure, but yeah, so it's got lots of interesting things going on here, and of course that's an opportunity to put this Shiv and AMIC on here, didn't I? But this is a very powerful piece of software, and I'm barely touching the surface of what this thing can do. I mean, what I quite like is the auto capture thing, so you can set it to start capturing, and then you can send it some data, and when it gets the data, it will stop capturing. Once its memory is full, or until you stop it, or whatever, or maybe until the data stops. Maybe that's also present too. Maybe that's what those delays are for. And you can set up decoding on different channels at once. So if I want to set up decoding on there as well, I can. So I'll set up a second UI channel. Let's do that. All right. Set it on AZ1 instead. Next, I'm going to keep these other channels. I don't want to delete them all. So you go. Now I've got a UI on the other channel as well. So I've got one on A1. Was that already on A1? That's on A0, that's right. So if you can just add more. I'm not sure what the limit is on how many you can add. Oh, what am I doing? Let's have a little look, shall we? Okay. Try another one. There must be a point where it says no more. But anyway, so if you've got lots of channels, you can just decode them all, it would seem, as long as you set the triggers. And this is obviously the decoding types here. Well, I'm going to stop recording this, so hopefully this is interest to you. I'm not highly experienced with serial decoding and things like that, so I've played around with it a bit and done some, and I've limited understanding of it. And I'm hoping that this particular unit will help me to expand my understanding of serial decoding, and I'll be able to use it more and actually investigate more things. I actually have an idea for a project actually, so I might see if I can use this for that. But, the things like Dave was complaining about was the scrolling. I think he said he had to click on each menu bar to get it to scroll in that direction or something. And that's not really the case now. I think it's pretty much the same. If you're scrolling, it's doing zooming. So things like that. So there, some things have been fixed in the software, but for when Dave looks at it, but there's still got issues in here. I mean, this thing here jumping to 200 megahertz all the time's a pain. So let's remove that. Yeah. Though it hasn't done that hasn't jumped back up again yet, which is interesting. So anyway, I'm waffling again, so hopefully I can discover some more features and go through some more things with you a bit later on once I've done some other work on it. So you got this EMMC modes on here as well, which changes this stuff, so let's just show you that. Alright, so it goes down to 4 channels for EMMC decoding, and this is now defaulted to 2 GHz input frequency. So that's a pretty high sample rate on that thing, you know. You can turn it back off again, it restores itself back to all the channels. But because I didn't do a save, it's now lost what I had, which is something I don't like. I wish it would actually keep what the previous one was. You know, if it's flicking between settings, trying things out, then you lose your settings. You know, like now I've lost that bus. So, and this is defaulted to 50 megahertz. You know, I want it to 5 megahertz and things like that. So, and this memory's dropped back down again, and little things like that in the software I don't like. You know, if it should remember what you did last and return to it. But no doubt this has got great capabilities. Well, it'll actually be nice to click over here and bring it over, but like I said, really I think this graphic needs to go, this graphic needs to go, use pull down menus, and that will give you a lot more screen real estate, you know, because when you're doing decoding you want a lot of space on the screen. This thing here, I mean, it's okay, I suppose, but again, that could be made a different shape. You can make that rectangular and compress it, and then you can actually have this pane here running right across the screen. Right, it can be full width then, because you can compress all this lot down into the space. Probably, you know, something like that. You can drag things around as well, but I believe this is detachable. Move things around in panes, so you can move that back up there. I think, or something. There's a way of moving things around. You can do that too, but just, I suppose that's a nice feature if you want to rearrange it. But there's things in there which are wasting screen space, and when you've got a small screen or you're trying to see a lot of data, you don't want pretty graphics, you want to be able to see the data. Okay, so back on this, and there's a few other features in here which I haven't covered yet. There's lots of things I haven't covered yet. So I did that thing there with the formats, basic coding. Put it back to ASCII. Oh. I've since quit the program, rebooted it because I just wanted to go through a few things. So down here, I've also got this options here. So you've got Navigator, which is a default view. You've got Packet List, so you can see the packets, which are indeed a list format. Let's bring this up here so you can see it. Alright, so you can see it in this format as well instead, which might be nice. I've got settings in here too, so you can set what you want. Refreshing, exporting, jumping into timestamps, searching. So if you want to try and find a certain bit of packet data. So also got statistics. If you're trying to decode or determine what's going on with a bit of the system, you can probably see what's going on here. Trying to determine whether it's sending the correct data formatting, it would seem. Memory view. I don't know what this does yet. No idea. So there's going to be a lot of this stuff in here where I just don't know what is used for. It's probably in the manual. I haven't read that yet. This is the way. Okay. So this allows you to find all the timings in the list format. Okay. But you know, you can just choose which channel you can look at. That's okay, I suppose, isn't it? Alright, so Better Navigator, which shows you the packet view, I suppose. Sure, there's other things. This doesn't actually change until you let go of the mouse. It doesn't. So you can move the bar, but it doesn't actually change, and you get this ghosting on the screen. I don't know if you can see that in the screen capture. It may be because of the screen capture, I don't know. And also with this thing, let's jump back to 200 MHz again when I was doing a 5 MHz sampling. Down. And interestingly, scrolling up, which you would think to be going upwards, is actually reducing it. It goes backwards. Anyway, I figure. So, I mean, it's got some good stuff, but getting used to it, you know. You can create extra lots here, so you know, if you want to use different ones in different formats and different protocols, you can just create another window basically and do it again. It has different settings here as well, actual changes with it. So, and you can of course save these configurations. Create new ones, opening them as well. So, printing, I'm not quite sure what that will do. That printer doesn't exist anymore. It's gone. You got lost in the flood. So I don't know. This is obsolete stuff. So yes, I don't know. Okay, so something else this has. Just looking through these menus here. So we've got long time recording, but it requires activation. I don't have a key for this. ZeroPlus, if you'd like to send me a key, I'd love to demonstrate it. At the moment I can't do that. And we have channel folding, which is where instead of having all the channels active, you can disable channels. So currently I've got a 4 megabit available memory, and as you turn things off you get more. So I've got 8 there, 16 if I only use 8 channels. I've got 16 megabit there. 32 megabit if you use 4 channels. 128 megabit if you use 1 channel. So that's something to bear in mind. If you don't need to use all the channels, you can increase the memory availability, which is nice flexibility. Having that that means that if you don't need all these channels to be operating at one time, then you can do that. Now I've done that and it's cleared all this off. It's reconfigured the screen. It's only got those channels on, and now it goes to 8 megabit there. So okay, well, let's do a new protocol decoder. Get UI on again. Using default settings, nothing else is changing there. Okay, open it up, drag it down a bit so you can see the waveforms a bit better. I want 5 megahertz sample rate. Let's set the trigger. Cancel that one. I want to do this one here. I want a rising edge trigger. Suppose the ASCII value. Okay. Rising edge. Still 5 megahertz. Cool, hasn't changed. Right, let's try this again. Let's try an auto capture. Go, so saving data, and there it is. So another thing you got here is you got this P button here. I think it's, I don't know what it does, but the P button here, push that, it shows the whole capture. I've got a mouse on there so I can do this with it. So yeah, I mean that works alright, doesn't it? So this is quite handy for when I just quickly zoom out to full scale. And it shows the whole lot. Yeah, so I'm gradually finding a way around this bit of software. So I shall carry on recording stuff. What's this do? And what does that do? Real time frequencies. Where that one? Channels. Ah, okay. So it shows the channel inputs, what they're doing, the current statuses. Okay, let's try sending some data to it and see what comes up, shall we? See what it does now. Don't know. You see anything? I haven't. I don't know. I wasn't really looking at the screen. It's pretty quick. Let's do another capture. So let's jump to 200 megahertz again. See that? So I sent the data. They'll be sorting it out now. Here we go. And let's zoom it out. See if I can capture it all. Yes, it's there. Even though I had it at 200 megahertz, I've still got all that data there now. So having a bigger memory depth certainly helped that. And there we go. You can. Oh, I think you can throw it. So if you drag and let go, it slides. I don't know. I'm not quite sure I like that. Anyway, so there you go. Subscribe, of course. So yeah, man, it's got some nice stuff. Just a matter of getting used to using it. I mean, files comparison. I suppose this means you can save a what's the word I'm looking for? An example waveform, and you can do comparisons with it, I suppose. Yeah. Something like that, anyway. So this is the other thing that Dave pointed out in his video a few months ago, well 6 months ago when he reviewed it, is this whole text overlapping thing, where the text is actually too big for the rows. I mean, it's got lots of rows in here, just loads and loads and loads of samples, right, because of what I've been doing, but it's you know, it's cut off. I mean, that should be a slightly smaller text size, or maybe a slightly larger row size. I haven't found a way of changing that. There is a font setting in the options, but it doesn't affect this window. It only affects the decoding side window. This one here, the waveform window, only affects this. So I don't know why they haven't resolved that issue yet, because I would have thought that'd be a fairly easy issue to resolve. I'm assuming, of course, they did actually see Dave's video on the review. Bit of an assumption, I'm guessing, but you know, they sent him one after all. So you do split screen and things like that as well, arranging stuff. Grey code. I don't know what that is. Never used it before. Can't saw that. So as you can see, I'm just finding a way around this thing. Complement. And getting used to it. I've done serial decoding on my scope and on a computer and with a Arduino and that sort of thing. But this is obviously a completely different league, because this is a higher end logic analyzer, you know, for this sort of device, and it's got lots of things which I don't understand yet. It's probably going to take me a while to actually get used to it when I'm playing around. So what I really need to do is actually have a project where I'm using this thing. I did think of something yesterday. I'm just trying to remember what it was now. Hopefully I can remember what it was, and I can actually then think about using this to do some probing around and get to grips with it a bit better with some alternative stuff. And obviously I'm assuming doing a UART decoding right now, which is just because I'm using a Arduino USB to serial converter, and I've got it plugged into my computer. I'm sending serial data from computer to it, so it's just, you know, typing it in. Nice and simple for demonstration purposes. So I'll probably plug this into my Siglent. What's it called? Siglent test board. It's got a model number. I can't think what it's called now. It's STB3 or something, I think it was called. If I can find that, well, I don't know what it is, but if I can dig that out, I'll probably hook it up using some parallel connections and use it as a logic analyzer rather than just doing serial decoding, and have a play around with that as well, which would be quite nice. But this won't be in this particular section of video. I'll probably do it a bit later on after I've had a bit more of a play around with it. So, interesting device. Software is not too bad now. I've actually had a bit of a play with it. I'm getting used to the software, and I'm getting used to these little quirks like this thing defaulting 200 megahertz. But I think when you've got the memory depth big enough, it doesn't matter that much. But again, it depends on how much data you're trying to capture. I'm only capturing a small amount of data here. I'm not trying to do a massive string, so it's not an issue. If I change this to 5 megahertz again, and we'll do another capture, and type the same thing again. Okay, so it should be receiving it. Yep, it is. There we go. And I'll zoom this out again. And that's the record length. So it's 461 milliseconds. And again, it's jumped back to 200 megahertz. I'm not sure why that is doing that. There may be a reason. I'm pretty sure it's the same record length as last time. Very interesting. There might be reasons for this. I just don't understand what they are yet. Okay, so again, thanks for ZeroPlus for sending this to me. This thing's worth a bit of money, you know, in the thousands of dollars region, and I didn't have to send it to me when I approached them. That was very generous of them to do that, and I'm hoping that they actually get some sales and stuff out of this. So if you're interested in a decent logic analyzer which has got, you know, 40 odd channels, they've got a 64 channel one as well, and they also do have some more basic ones. Certainly go and have a look. Follow the links down below and check them out. But if you need lots of channels, then this is the thing for you. It's got a lot, and it's mind-blowing really how much this thing can do, especially all the decoding it can do. That's incredible. You know, that is, I think, what stands apart, is that it can just do so many different types of decoding. It's just stuff which I've never heard of, but then, like I say, I'm not exactly an expert in that sort of thing. Alright, so I thought I'd show you this. Now this is the standard probe connection which comes with these, with the ZeroPlus. So that's the standard extension that plugs into the front panel, and it plugs into the actual probe itself, the actual sensor, I suppose you can call it. The interesting thing about these sensors is that instead of having like a little box around them or something like that, they're just heat shrunk. I'm not sure I like that principle. Everything else has been done so professionally, so well. All these connectors, you know, they're really nice, and yet the probes themselves are not really conveying that same level of detail and care. I mean, it'll seem to work fine, it's not an issue, but it just doesn't seem to be on the same standard really, right? These leads are all nice, you know, they're all precision. It's got some little labels on there as well, so you can see what they are. They aren't obvious which one is the signal and ground, but if you look at them, you see, hopefully, that one has got, with the lighting a bit better, so you can see. That's the center conductor there, so that's the main signal, and the black one is the ground. So you can work it out. At least it seems to be that way. I haven't actually verified it, but that's what I've been using. It may just be a differential pair kind of arrangement there, you know. It may not matter. And what they've also done is they've also provided me with these. This is I think it's 2.5 foot, or was it 2.5 meters? I can't remember which one it was. It's 2.5 something. These are big extensions instead. So instead of having a little lead like this where you have to work quite close to the actual unit, so here's the unit here, right? So it's okay if you got, you know, for something on the back of your bench, then it's probably, you might reach. But these are quite short. Now, that'd be fine with some situations where you don't need a long lead. But they've also given me these. I think these are optional, and they've sent these as well. So I think 20 of these, I think it was, with these long cables. So you can actually have this a distance away and then run this to the sensor head, you know. So it's all nice. I mean, physically, it's a really beautiful system. Right? It's a nice solid case. It feels robust. It feels well designed. From what I saw in the videos from Dave and Jack Ganzel, they're nice systems, nice mechanically sound systems. The software is what's letting them down. a few little quirks in there, little bugs. I don't think it's anything particularly bad. It's just little inconvenient things, like, you know, settings, swapping backwards and forwards. There may be a reason for that. It may be I'm doing something wrong in the software, which I haven't identified yet. But you would expect it to be, when you set a setting to be a certain value, that it would stay at that value without changing by itself. If all you're doing is like doing a new capture on that setting, you know, there may be a reason, but I haven't identified what that is. So I will carry on playing around with the software and doing some other stuff on it. I do want to do my Siglent STB3 test board, which has got I2C and SPI outputs and stuff like that on it, and some parallel outputs and that kind of thing. So I do want to hook those up to this unit and actually do some testing with some alternative signals, not just a standard UART, and to show a bit more detail on how it works, and also figure out how it works myself, and hopefully, you know, educate each other along the way. So, I mean, it's a beautiful unit in a way, you know, but it's just the software is a bit, I don't know, I wouldn't say flaky, it's just not as polished. You know, the hardware is really well polished. The software is not bad, it's like 90% there, I think. It may just be a case of me getting used to it. I mean, as I was using it, I was finding it getting better and better, so I noticed things less as an issue, but maybe that's part of the thing, just me learning how to use it more than anything. But, you know, you can form your own opinions on that. And I'm waffling again. So I'll do some more video with more testing on this thing, but I've got some other things I need to move on to for now. I'm going to be playing this for, you know, a couple of weeks probably before I do the video final videos. So depending on how disjointed this seems, it may be because I've been cobbling bits of different videos together to try and make more sense of things I've been doing wrong. It's entirely possible. Okay, so again, thanks again ZeroPlus for sending that to me. So it's free of charge, and for the purpose of the review, and having something of this value. I think it was about, I think they said it was, what did I say it was, 2,500 US, I think they said it was, something like that. Might be more than that with the optional extras. I think these cables were added onto it as well, and these extra sensors and stuff like that, I think. So they sent me, you know, quite a big bundle. So I think it was a fair amount of money there, you know, in the thousands certainly. I've got this set up for decoding now, so I've hooked it up to my Siglent STB3 test board, and I'm just doing I2C decoding. So as you can see, I've already set this up and captured some samples from it, and it decodes it just fine. So you can obviously set the, you know, the various types. So if you do hex, you've got the raw hex values there. Oh, no way around. And you can see the raw hex instead. So that's all fine, you know, in inline conversion. In this case, obviously you want ASCII because you want to read the data directly. Now the annoying thing is it has this, inserts the word data here. Alright, I really wish it didn't do that, because that detracts from what you're trying to read. You know, just take the word data out. Obviously it's data. I don't know, maybe it's because it's got this other stuff going as well, like you've got this data acknowledge packets as well, and things like that. So, you know, start packet. So I suppose maybe it's just trying to be clear about what it's actually decoding. So I can understand it really. You've got to stop here as well. So, you know, it is, I suppose, potentially helpful, but if you know that's data, then it doesn't really need to be there. But anyway, when you zoom out enough anyway, that the data word disappears, as you can see here. Now I've actually been playing with the features a little bit. Now if you're on the arrow pointer here, as the cursor, when you scroll up and down on the mouse, you scrolling side to side, okay? Right, if you click over here, then maybe you'll scroll up and down. No, it was a way of doing up and down as well. But I don't know. But if you click on the hand and you scroll, that does zooming instead. Right, so that's just a little switching in the functions there. So if you're expecting it to zoom and it's not, then you need to switch this cursor type. Go away. So anyway, and you can say jump to each packet. Each packet here is very similar. They do change data slightly on the back end here. on this particular configuration. I didn't capture a huge amount of data on this because it's pretty much the same thing. This is Siglent over and over again, pretty much, with some other random data after it. Okay, so obviously the I2C works absolutely fine. The more I've used this piece of software, the more I've got used to its little quirks, and I'm actually fairly happy with it, to be honest. It's got some little oddities in there, but it's not really show-stopping stuff. It's once you get used to it, it works kind of as you expect. Once you get used to it, you know, I suppose you're learning how the software functions rather than the software being obvious. You know, I think it's that lack of obvious for some of these functions which will detract from it slightly. But really, I must say, as I've been using it more and more, I'm getting used to it, and it's not an issue. You know, I can understand why things are working the way they are. You know, obviously I've only still barely scratched the surface of this. I mean, so I can do in here, you can do saves and loads. So this particular one is actually a save. So I captured this data yesterday, and I saved it. So if I go into here, you can see here that you got the two ones which I've saved previously. So this is the one I did now. Oh, what do I call it? SPI. I'm doing I2C. I don't know. Anyway, we got the UART one here, which is now opening. There we go. So this is the UART one, which is when you open it, it defaults to hexadecimal. So you still have to go back in and change the encoding back to what you want. I don't know why it does that. This one I did previously in the earlier part of the video, where I was feeding data straight in from my computer. So, you know, yeah, but it's interesting why it doesn't actually retain that decoding type as part of the file. So, no, I think it'd be nice if it did that. Obviously, it might be something that's been overlooked, but it works. Right? I don't know why I called it SPI. It's obviously I2C, isn't it? I mean, I misnamed the file. I'll have to change that. So anyway, it works. So I'm gonna see if I can do some kind of parallel data or something. I'm not quite sure what I'm gonna do yet. Now, one thing that occurred to me is if you're trying to watch live data, you're actually trying to watch something as it happens, I'm not sure if you can actually do it. I'm just thinking about this now, because this is also it'll take a capture and then display the capture, right? Is that repeated capture? Maybe it's that one. Let's power up the test board and get that all running. Let's plug the thing in. Actually, it's something I did notice. The on the hardware side of things, it's a quiet for 5 seconds. Is that doing live? Don't think it is. No, it's just doing repeated. Okay, so that's what it's doing. All right. The on the hardware side of things, you get these little easy hook grabber things. I don't think they actually are easy hook. I think they might be a different brand. Let's have a look. No, it's branded ZeroPlus. That's obviously their own manufactured ones. The easy hook style clips, right, for hooking onto test points. Now they have a male pin on them to go to a little cable, which is fine, you know, as is normal for those things. But there's no cables included with the kit. So when you actually buy the unit, you get all these grabbers, which is brilliant. You've got loads of them, so you can hook everything up. You've got all these sensor attachments, which, you know, obviously do the actual acquisition part, which feed into the unit, which is great. There's no cables sent the two together. So if you got the ones that came with it, because it's like a double connector, it's not a single connector. Oh, I wonder. Hold on a second. I know what's happened there. It's been put on backwards. Okay, now the probes I've got here, 5 seconds. 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 5 se with the actual cables that attached to the probes, that had the singles on the I don't know what you call it, the module end, right? Had the single connectors on there, and the double connector was on the other end. That's what it is. The cable's back to front, which explains it. So no, I can stop complaining about that now. That's fine, but it's still very short for that particular purpose. So some slightly longer ones would be nice for that, you know, to actually include the kit. It's not a big deal. They're really cheap to get. I mean, I've got loads of them sitting around anyway, like for my breadboarding stuff and what have you. I've got males and females, so I just got some of those female ones and hook those up. Not a problem. This needs to go away. Bloody Windows. I hate Windows. Things popping up and running in the background. All sorts of crap. Anyway, so that was a moan, but now I'm not going to moan about it because I've realised what happened there. But there's still, these cables that come with it are only what, like 3 inches long, something like that. They're not very long at all, and so they're not really suitable for hooking up to a board in that way. So they could really use some longer cables. It'd be nice if it came with them, because say they're not expensive, but they are using shielded ones, so you know they probably are a bit more involved in that way because they're shielding them. You know, to try and keep the noise levels down to get better signal acquisition and noise levels. Anyway, I'm waffling again. So this works fine. It's just the fact I called it SPI. It's obviously not SPI. I was going to do SPI, and I did I2C instead. So I might do SPI as well, and just see how it goes. But I expect pretty much the same results. I'd be surprised if there was anything different. Oh, well, the pop-up. Go away. Okay, so now I've just done a SPI capture. I've configured this, and I had to try and play around trying to get the configuration to actually suit this board I'm doing. I'm not quite sure what default settings really should be. So I did everything default. I've set these pins up to suit. When you actually set these up, when you first create the bus protocol, it renames the pins. Alright, so A0 is one of them. Right, was it A? Yeah, that's A0, A1 and A2, and it actually renames the pins on the inputs. So that way you got a reference there to go back to instead of trying to remember which pin's which. I suppose that's quite a nice feature. But if you want to change them, then I don't know how that's going to affect things. But anyway, and I've got, you know, chip select anyway, or slave select, what you want to call it. And I had to. That was okay as default. I had to set that correct pin. Now what I did have to change is this. Now this mode, in this particular case, I had to change it to this value here, CPOL 1. I don't know what the significance was of these. If I also set it to one of those, I can't remember which one it was now, also worked. So I don't know. I'm not hot on serial protocols. I've played with it a little bit. I'm not exactly an expert on it. I do remember coming across these previously, but I can't remember what the significance was of them. I'd have to go and look at it. Offhand, I just don't know. And also got this fill 0 at LSB. Now I'm not sure if I actually need that. Let's turn it off. Yeah, it doesn't seem to need it in this case, but I think sometimes you may need that. I don't know. Let's just say zoom in again. So again, I'm using my Siglent test board for this. And it does actually tell you in the manual for the test board how it should be configured to correctly read its outputs. I haven't read it. So, well, I've read it a while ago, but I haven't read it for this to set this up. But so as you can see here, I've got these are the actual inputs here. So A0 is the data, A1 is clock, A2 is slave select. All right, chip select, what you want to call it. And if you expand the bus, you can actually see them as this type instead. So when you actually create a new bus, you can actually tell it to ignore high DLW channels and remove them. So actually I'll do that. Okay, so let's just delete this. I'll do it again. I'll show you what I did. So create a new protocol, or add protocol decoder, right? So I want SPI. That was A1. This is A0. I think I've got it right. A0 is data. Yep. A2. This on that one there. Okay, I think that's everything. Next, delete all other buses and channels. Yep, let's do that. Clear them all out, and that gives us the bus. Alright, so then you end up with this display instead. Just much more simplified and easier to manage. It may even increase sample rate, stuff like that as well. I haven't actually tried that. It may do. It may mean it can record for longer. So I'll do a new capture. And there you go. So, you know, I tend to like to, if I've got space there available to display it, then I'd rather actually have that space shown. But yeah, it's just the way I am, I suppose. I think you can actually drag these bigger too. Yeah, you can. So if you want to see the data with a bit more detail, then I suppose you can do that. I'm not really sure it's that necessary, but you can do that if you want. Zoom in a bit. So maybe you can check for glitches or something, I don't know, but yeah, it all works fine. So that's UART, SPI and I2C tested. Now this test board here also does CAN and LIN. So I might play with those. That's not something I actually use myself. I know just about nothing about it. All right, I have to admit I know nothing about CAN and LIN. All right, so I might hook those up and see if I can figure out how to do it. So let's just I'll save that again as it is, and let's create a new one, shall we? Let's delete that. Delete the channel. Let's do this as I'm recording. So add protocol decoder. We want, there's different cans here. Let's do a LIN 2.1, shall we? Let's try that first. I think. Where is the markings for that? LIN. Yeah, I'm not sure how to configure that. I'll have to look at it and figure it out. Channel will be on what is currently the data channel. So it's A0. Okay. I'm not sure about data rate. So let's just try that. Nothing yet. Okay, so let's change the protocol on the output here to be LIN. Do a capture. Well, it's doing something. Let's zoom out. So there's something coming out. I might have to read the manual on how to actually configure this thing, because I really don't know. I don't need that. Might be baud rate, maybe. Let's try 9600, just in case it's baud rate. There we go, it's baud rate. Alright, so let's do a recapture. And we shall zoom out a bit more. Okay, I'm showing it already. So here we go. Here's the other protocol. So this is LIN. And this is saying nothing I've got any experience over whatsoever. Alright. So if I zoom back out a bit, I think I'm zooming in too far. I did see Siglent here before. That was in there. Now I've lost it. Let's increase the data a bit and recapture. Maybe I've done something else stupid, I don't know. It's entirely possible. And zoom out a bit. Okay. There we go, there's Siglent there. There we go. Alright, so it does work. It does decode. It does tell you what all the packets are. Stop start packets here. Each data packet. So, you know, considering I just set that up on the fly for the first time whilst recording, that's pretty easy. Alright. Knowing what signal you're receiving helps. Obviously it's got different packets here for each of the bits of data there. One thing it does, if you sort of drag and sweep, it just sort of keeps going. It's like you throw the data. I don't like that actually. And there's Siglent again there. So obviously repeating. So yeah, that obviously works. Okay, so let's look at the next one, which is CAN. Now I'll just save this setup first actually. Let's do a save as. I'm trying to keep all these, so I've at least got a working piece of data here. So this is lint. So let's now delete that and try and set up a CAN bus. There's different ones. I'm guessing CAN 2. Channel A0 now. There's CAN L. I've got CAN N. CAN L and CAN H on here. So I'm going to get the probe I've currently had on the data pen. Move it over onto the CAN L, and we'll see what happens there. I don't know if that's the right one or not, which will make that the A0 terminal. I don't know about packet formats. Baud rate is probably still 9600. Oh, maybe it isn't. I may have to read the manual for this one. We'll try it as it is first and see if we can get any data out of it. Okay, so we've definitely got something there. I better change the protocol over actually to CAN. That'll make more sense, wouldn't it? Let's do it again. Now whether this is gibberish, I don't know. Yeah, it could be. It's definitely capturing something. So this is something I don't know anything at all about. So I may have to play around with these settings a little bit here and see what's going on. So it could be the baud rate wrong. Let's just quickly get the manual out and have a look. So sorry about the delay. Let's see if I can find this in the manual. How to use the CAN function. 50 kilobit. Okay. Oops, I just dropped half the manual on the floor. That one. Recapture. Right, I'm just trying to see if I can make sense of the actual data that's supposed to be here. I don't know. I don't think I've got that right still, somehow. Is that 500? Maybe it's that one. Does that make more sense? Here we go, that's the one. Okay, here we are. That is working too. So this problem is that I don't have a clue what I'm doing with this particular protocol. So configuring it is a little bit new to me. So it is at least decoding the word Siglent, which means it is receiving data correctly. And it has the other data wrapped around it. So yeah, this is interesting. Oh, I've thrown it again. Come back. Don't want to throw it. Let's just put this thing bloody scroll, eh? Right. Easy with scrolling. Right, let's go back this way to the left. So it has these IDs and stuff over here. SRR equals 1, ID equals 1. Does it even mention it in here? I don't know. I've got no idea what this stuff means. Anyway, it works. decodes the word Siglent, which is exactly what we want. So that's obviously functioning fine too. Obviously, so it's just me knowing how to set this thing up. This is the finale part of the video, I suppose. I've done a lot of testing on this. I've probably touched a fraction of what this thing can do, really, but I'm not exactly super familiar with high-end logic analyzers, which this thing is. Now this is, as you can see, it's got lots of channels on it, so you know it's way more channels than I'd ever need, certainly. And I'm sure there's people out there which have to do quite complex analytics of things, and having all these channels would certainly be helpful. I mean, this is 40 channels, right? So you know, it does a lot, and the software's good. I didn't have any issues with it crashing or anything like that. I think I had one issue when I first started using it. I did one little glitch. I think it's because I was trying to do something weird, because I was trying to figure it out. I didn't have a problem after that. It may have just been the computer doing backups, well, doing updates in the background, so it probably isn't even the software's fault. Because the computer had been used for a little while and it was doing updates, so it's probably because of that. But this thing here works well. I like it. I mean, the software is a bit, I don't know, it's easy to use, but it's got some quirks, and once you get used to the quirks, then it's fine. You don't really think about it anymore, and you can just go through it, and it's just easy. It is easy, I have to say. So thank you very much for ZeroPlus for sending me this unit. I say it's free of charge, there's no cost to me. So I've got a really nice piece of test gear now in my arsenal of equipment, which is brilliant. It's lovely to get a piece of gear which are high quality like this to add to it, you know. It doesn't seem, no matter how much gear you have or what you have, you always find that you don't quite have everything you need. There's always a time you think, oh, I wish I had more analyzer channels. Well, you know, I want to analyze this and that at the same time, but keep them separate, kind of thing, you know, because you want to analyze different protocols simultaneously and things like that. So having the ability on this is brilliant, because it means you can do that, and you know, you can set up as many channels as you want and analyze different protocols at the same time and things like that. So it's brilliant. So again, thank you very much to ZeroPlus for this. My opinion of this unit, hardware wise, really good. With a caveat on that. Let me just get a probe and I'll show it on me. So these are the probes that I was using. Alright, so this bit here, which is the actual input device, I don't know, module, input module, I suppose you can call it. I mean, it's just a heat shrinked PCB. To me, that should be inside a little box, you know, make a little box. 3D print them if you have to, you know. Molds are expensive to make, you know, a little mold to make that, I don't know, it's probably not too bad. It's probably 20 grand to make a mold to make a little box that makes that, you know, it's not going to be that expensive. But when you're looking at costs, then, you know, you have to think of those things. But maybe there's plans later on to put these in proper boxes, but you know, I think it should be in a little box. I mean, it's heat shrink, you know, the heat shrink aspect, it just doesn't look professional, right? It's just, that's what lets it down, is this piece. This looks amazing. All this design, obviously has been put a lot of effort into this, and there's still thought put into that. Brilliant. And shielded cables, even though they're only this long, they're shielded, you know, things like that. That kind of detail is what makes it really good. Alright. I did have an issue originally when I had these probes on with these cables, but they nobody came attached to the sensor module. Right. They actually plugged in the other way around, and then one end got a double jack, the other end got singles, and they had the singles plugged in this end. So I went to go and use these little hook probes that came with it, and I couldn't plug that in because that's a rectangular, not a square, right? Because it's the T-pole, and it wouldn't actually plug in. It wasn't until later on I realised that actually, if I this end had the singles on it, so the cables on back to front. So I swapped the cables around the other way. So it's got double at this end, and then obviously then you use hook probes as designed. Okay, but these cables that came with it are quite short. I believe this is the standard cable, and the other cable I had came with it, which they supplied, which I believe was an extra. Was this one here? I think it's 2.5 meters or something like that. So you can have the thing on a bench, you know, and have your tester instrument, you know, a distance away from it, and have it all working. So they gave me a bunch of these as well, which is brilliant. So these are the ones that standard come with it, and these ones that I think are optional, which are an extra cost if you want them. in my situation, because I was just demoing, I could have put it all really close to the unit, so it wasn't an issue. I didn't have to use the long ones, but I'm sure there will be times when I need them. So all that is really nice, but this heat shrunk, appearance here just doesn't seem professional. If that is inside a little box, that'd be they're not the next level up. This stuff here, yeah, it's okay. I mean, these cables are just cables, all right? They're nice cables, but you don't have to use those. You could just use something else. I actually started out using this, right, until I realised that these are back to front. I just had one of these little female to female header pin jumper things, which I use for my breadboarding and Arduino stuff. Right, so those are easy to get, so you could always use those. But yeah, I just need to look at this part. This is what gives a bad impression. The rest of the product gives a really good impression. This gives a lower impression. It's just not as good. I mean, I'm sure underneath the heat shrink, it's a beautiful piece of circuitry and it's really well done. Right? I haven't had any issues with it. It seemed to do sample rates quite easily. I think the highest I did was 25 megahertz, and it handled it just fine. No problem at all. So yeah, just needs some improvement on their side, I think. If this really bothered me, I would be looking at making a box to put over it. I mean, I actually want to get a 3D printer, and if I do that, I'll probably make some boxes for these, just to make them a bit more protected and just nicer, But yeah, the actual unit is really nice. The software is good. I mean, I didn't really have any issues with it. So there's features on here I didn't even touch. I didn't touch these connections here. Didn't use those at all. Trigger out, stack, clock out. Didn't use any of those things. I'm sure we can do a hell of a lot more functionality. We're using these extra options on here. Maybe you're trying to trigger a digital sequence and then you'll track that, that kind of thing. So there's stuff this can do which I have not gone anywhere near. It's just phenomenal. But the amount of built-in decoding alone is probably worth the value of what this thing is. This is worth multiple thousands of dollars, right? I don't remember the exact value offhand, but it was a few $1,000s US in value. And I think they gave me those extra long cables. Those were, I think it's about another $1,000 worth of cables they gave me in those extra extensions. Something like that, I think it was. From memory, I could be wrong. So there's links down below to ZeroPlus. If you want a serious piece of logic analyzer gear, go follow it and have a look, and certainly, consider buying. They got some less serious equipment, I suppose. They've got some Arduino units and some other bits and pieces. They've got quite a range of things on his website actually. So certainly go and have a look, and it's quite interesting and seeing what sorts of things they make and can provide. This is high end, right? This thing here, but they've got some simpler equipment which is probably more hobbyist suited if you're into that kind of thing instead. So thanks again ZeroPlus for that, and make sure you follow those links and go and check them out, and tell them you checked them out as well from my channel, because it helps them to know that their effort in giving this to me has helped to promote their products and to give them some more sales, hopefully, as well. Alright, so if you do buy from them, please mention my channel, because I do want to make sure they understand if they've actually had any comeback from that. They've invested money in sending me this, giving me this free product, so I'd like them to actually see some return on that, because that's only the right thing. Okay, so thanks a lot, and catch you later, and have a good one.